Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. Happy Saturday, another Saturday to be with you all, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm Ryan, I'm the pastor here at Free, and if you're joining us for the first time, you need to know this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. If you're wondering what spiritual refugees are, well, we define this segment of people as those who felt like they've been kicked around by religion. They've been kicked around by the church. They were told somewhere along the way that they don't belong, and here you belong. So welcome to Free. Um, our goal here is to always break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And we call this place, this community, Free, because all the things that set us free, grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given by God. So we're glad you're here. Welcome to another Saturday night of being virtual with you all, where we get to be in your living rooms or your kitchens or wherever you are. Hey, it has been an amazing week, guys. Good things have happened this week. I want to throw it over to Ben, who's going to give us some announcements and tell us about some things coming up and some things that have happened this week. Ben is a member of this Free community, and here's Ben.
Hey everybody, Ben, welcome. Glad you're here. Wanted to kick things off tonight with a very exciting thing we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun. We invite you to share by clicking the share link right down below right now. We're going to keep track of those names, and we're going to draw a few out of the hat. And you have a chance to win a few things: some free swag, some free coffee, or a $50 gift card. So start sharing right now. That's going to be just after celebrations in a few minutes. Also, guys, we have a few announcements to share with you here. This last Tuesday, we had free gives, and it was an amazing experience, very unexpected. We had a few matching families who were able to share with us, and we wanted to hopefully get about $7,000. We were able to blow that out of the water, and it was over $8,240. So
Woo!
thank you, thank you, thank you. It was amazing. All right. Next thing is free gives. We had our first free gives event this last Wednesday. It was a huge success. We were able to hand out over 150 pizzas, 150 Clean Cause energy drinks. It was amazing. And we're planning on doing these events for the next few months, at least once a month. So keep your eyes out for that. My family and I were there. We had a blast. Even sitting in our cars, just being able to wave and smile at people, eat amazing food, and just be part of a community, even from a distance. It was awesome. So next thing we have here is our Spotify playlist. So we know you all have been missing music from our Saturday night events, and I'm one of those people too. I love it. It's new to me, and I love it. So feel free to go on Spotify and look for our information that's on the screen now. It's going to be on all our social media, and you can play that. We're creating that for you. And finally, we have our mental health and wellness series kicking off tonight. So we're going to kick off tonight with It Takes a Village. Week 2 is going to be anxiety and depression. Week 3, burnout. And then we're wrapping up our 4th week with self-care. So that's all coming up and starting tonight. Finally, don't forget to go down and click share right now. You'll have the opportunity to get your name in the hat and win some of those prizes. So thanks, everybody, and back over to you, Ryan.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Man, I'm so glad you and your family are part of this community. And it was so good to see you all on Wednesday night, to sit in your cars and serving you pizzas and yerba mate drinks. So how fun was that? And like Ben said, we're going to do that again next month, and a month after. We're going to roll out details soon, and we're going to put some spins and twists to these things. So stay tuned. It is going to be tons of fun. And as Ben said, hit the share button, because your name's going to be entered to win some prizes. We're going to actually do a wheel spin in just a minute. So hit the share button, your name will get thrown in a hat, then we're going to pick it out. All right, everybody, how we begin in this community after announcements is we always do celebrations together. And I say this every single week. We don't ignore the hard stuff, the heartaches, but we also don't start there. We save that for the end, because in this community, we can be sometimes overwhelmed with some of the burdens we're carrying and some of the sufferings and hardships we're enduring. So we start with celebrations to remember in life that we celebrate. And something really profound happens when we all celebrate together, when hundreds and literally throughout the week, thousands of people are joining you in your celebrations, whatever that is. It might be sobriety anniversaries, Or maybe I know we have some upcoming babies being born in this community. We have grandbabies being born in this community. There's all kinds of transitions. There's good things happening in life, and we lift all of these things up to God, and we do it together as a community, and we believe that God celebrates with us. So this is your opportunity to engage and get vulnerable together as a community. So we encourage you during these 3 minutes, some music will pop on the screen. You'll see some, it'll just say celebrations, but type in the comments. If y'all are watching right now, even if you're watching the replay, type in the comments what you're celebrating so that we can celebrate with you. Take 3 minutes, get vulnerable, let the community in on your celebrations, and after the 3 minutes, we're going to come back and we'll read some of those celebrations.
See the light of a new day dawning. Feel the love from a beating heart. You catch a ride to the top of the world. This is where we start. No, we can't make it last forever. We gotta use all the time we have. And you know that we'll never say never if we ever get the chance. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. There's a winding road we're choosing, looking for a brand new day. And up ahead there's an open door, now we'll find our way. There's a hope for a new tomorrow. We can dream that we'll rise above. Let me be your guide to follow, and you'll always feel the love. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na 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 na. Seize the moment and stop right now. Play the music and live. Well, it's good to be alive. So good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Oh, life is calling.
Welcome back, everybody. It's like it
Hi,
sneaks up on us
everybody.
every week. And we have the one and only Tammy Canaday with
Glad
us.
to be here.
Woo, 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 woo. Oh, I'm in the wrong camera again. How about that? All right, y'all. It's one of our favorite parts of the evening is to celebrate with you. We love reading the comments as they're coming through. So much fun. Danny, do you have a few of us for the screen? Drew, brother Drew says 1 month free of nicotine, only by God's grace. Congratulations,
Yep.
Drew. Woo-hoo.
Celebrating, woohoo! Jane, I became a JMA for the 3rd time, a healthy baby boy. Mom and baby are doing well. That's awesome news, Jane.
Way to
It's
go,
good to
Jane.
have you with us tonight.
Brian says tomorrow will be 6 months, 180 days clean and sober.
That's big.
Brian, congratulations, brother. It is fun to follow you on social and to see this progression of sobriety. Man,
Awesome.
so awesome.
Oh, can I take this one?
You should take this
It's
one.
my mama. She says, thankful to be mom to Val, me, and Chelsea. I'm glad you're here, Mama. I love you.
Welcome from Omaha, and congratulations to all the moms out there, and happy Mother's Day tomorrow. Ben, who was just with us, said, so thankful to be a part of this amazing free community. And we're thankful, we're grateful you're part of this community, Ben, and the rest of the fam.
Heck yeah. Jamie just finished first semester of college, all A's. Wow, that's awesome,
so
Jamie.
awesome. Some of y'all will remember Jamie. We baptized Jamie a couple of months ago now, and she shared some of her story. Congratulations, Jamie.
That's
so cool. Is it my turn?
Your turn, I think.
Tina says, good evening, Tina. I'm glad you're here. God keeps showing up in personal and generous ways. I'm blown away.
Awesome.
Yes. Cool. Thanks for sharing that with us, Tina. We're blown away, too, by generosity in this community.
Big time. Marty, I got to see my littlest grandkids today and my bigger grands tomorrow. I have missed them, so that is pretty special and a good
Very
weekend
special.
for that.
Yes,
so.
Congratulations, Marty. Dion, good to have you all here tonight. She says, looks like baby Z might make her appearance on Mother's Day.
Awesome.
Prayers for Aaron and Alyssa and a healthy baby. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dion.
Yeah.
And you all know Aaron and Alyssa, they're part of this community. They actually were driving through getting pizza this week. And so awesome. I hope the baby's born tomorrow.
That's so cool.
We're
Keep
praying.
us posted.
Yes.
Amy, celebrating challenges, joys, and the learning curve to teach remotely. My kiddos are shining light in the strange times. Blessed. Yeah, I know that you were wondering how that would go, so I'm glad that there's some celebration in the midst of all of that.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that with us, Amy.
Yeah.
Brian, welcome, Brian. Good to see
Brian.
you, brother. He says, celebrating the changes in my life, in my lifelong addiction to toxic thinking that facing and surmounting challenges brings.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaner every day. Thank you for sharing that with us, Brian. Congratulations. Celebrating with you, brother.
I think we should celebrate.
What are we celebrating?
I don't know. What are we celebrating?
Oh, my goodness, y'all. This is kind of big. We were supposed to be on a plane to Ecuador on Monday morning to go spend 9 days playing in the mountains together. We're not going, of course. COVID put a change in those plans, so we'll be staying home. Yep. But we were going to celebrate our 15-year anniversary together.
15 years on Tuesday.
15 years of being married.
Yeah.
It's all good. We're going to celebrate Tuesday. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll celebrate well.
Yes, we will.
And thanks for celebrating with us, and let me join you.
Yes, are you staying up here? We're going to spin the wheel.
Oh, yes, I am.
I got to scoot over just a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So, y'all, we have some names for everyone that shared. Your name was put in a hat. I'm going to get the hat. We're going to draw out 3 names. Then Danny's going to spin, and we'll see what y'all land on. Did I grab 3 or grab 3?
Okay.
All right. The first name is Saman. Saman, you are entered to win. Let's give the wheel a spin and see what you get. This is fun. Bear with us. Give us grace. This is our first time doing this. We wanted to just have a little fun with y'all tonight. The wheel does stop at some point, doesn't it, Danny?
It sure does.
All right.
Longer for
suspense.
Coffee. All right, Saman, shoot us a message later on, and we'll get with you later on this evening to figure out which coffee you want. You get a pound of coffee. Congratulations,
awesome.
Saman. You want to read the second one?
Amy Stevens, I'm guessing.
Amy S. Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Let's give it a spin and see what Amy gets. We need some Jeopardy music here. Ding, ding, ding. And she gets a... Oh my goodness, you get the $50 gift card.
Awesome. So cool.
Amy, shoot us a message later and we'll get with you on details of the $50 gift card. Congratulations.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, I get the last one. MJ in the house. MJ.
Awesome.
Let's give it a spin. Congratulations, MJ. Let's spin the wheel to see what y'all are getting here.
This is fun.
This is fun. We just wanted to bring some levity to this evening.
And could I say while we're waiting that the coffee from Honduras, that's a honey processed coffee.
Yes.
So Sally's in the house, and that coffee, that honey coffee that we have, comes from her daughter and son-in-law's coffee farm in Honduras. So little connection there with Sally's
and
face.
y'all get to meet Sally in just a little bit. Yeah. Reverend Dr. Sally is in the house tonight. MJ, you just won a shirt. So again, shoot us a message later. We'll get with you either later tonight or tomorrow morning and figure out which kind of shirt you want. So we just gave away coffee, a shirt, and a $50 gift card. Thank you all for playing with us tonight.
That's
This was kind of fun.
I like that.
We might do it again next week.
All right, see y'all later.
All right, guys. Well, that was fun. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a bit of a transition here. We are starting, as you heard from Ben, we're starting this new series tonight on, we're calling it the Mental Health and Wellness Series. And it's going to be 4 weeks. Tonight, the theme is It Takes a Village. Next week, the theme is Anxiety and Depression. And then the third week is Burnout. What do you do with burnout? And then the fourth week is going to be all about self-care. And I can't wait for you all to meet some of our guest experts who are going to join me at the table. As we just said a moment ago, we have Reverend Dr. Sallie Suby-Long with us tonight. I'll introduce and say more about her in just a moment. But this, y'all, as you know, with everything happening, this is a really important series for this community to be a part of. So I'm glad you're part of it. Let's engage along the way. Give us your comments, give us your thoughts, give us your questions, and we'll keep this conversation going throughout the week. But I want to kick things off with a bit of a 59-second video to introduce things. Thank you, Danny Colella, for always creating such great videos to engage this community. You know, when I was 19 years old, shortly after my brother's death in a car accident, I left Michigan where I was going to school and I came back to my hometown in Missouri for an extended weekend. And that weekend, my mom took me to the doctor. And this was during a time in my life where I wasn't sleeping well. I was waking up in the middle of the night with panic attacks and night terrors. And if you've ever been through that, you know how terrifying that can be. And for many, many months, I lost passion. I lost purpose. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. I didn't know how to cope with life. And when that grief fully set in, it was a time in my life that was really confusing. It felt like these dark clouds just kind of hovered over me. And I wondered if they would ever part. I wondered if life would simply be this way forever. And I wasn't well. And in his office that day, the doctor used the word depression with me. And I have to be honest with you, it scared the hell out of me. But he told me I was okay, and he gave me a prescription for a medication, and he assured me that I wasn't some sort of weirdo, because that was my big fear, right? I mean, in my mind, something must be fundamentally wrong with me. I'm somehow deeply flawed. And questions like, why is my life like this? I don't feel like me. What happened to the me that I know? And y'all, I carried shame with this. I didn't want people to know that I wasn't well. I was scared of being labeled as depressed. I didn't want people to know that I was on depression medicine. Because if you knew this, well, you might think I'm weak, and fear and ego tell me that weakness is bad. So you learn to just keep some things quiet. And the silence can be so lonely. And it took me years to admit this to people and to be able to speak freely about this with no shame involved, absent of shame. And what I know about my life is healing didn't come sitting alone by myself. Healing came in working with professionals, good counselors. Healing came through communities of people. As I said a couple of weeks ago, communities of people who loved me when I didn't know how to love myself. Communities of people who introduced me to a God who is full of unconditional love and grace and compassion and forgiveness. And see, I wonder how many of us are suffering in silence when it comes to our mental health. So let's put some more context to this conversation. Some things you should know. Did you know 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year? That's over 47 million people each year in the U.S. 1 in 25 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. That's over 11 million people. 1 in 6 U.S. youth between the ages of 6 and 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. By the way, that's almost 8 million of our youth affected each and every single year. And did you know suicide is the second leading cause of death among people between the ages of 10 and 34? Let that sink in a minute. Suicide is the second leading cause of death between the ages of 10 and 34. And you should know that only 41% of the people who had a mental disorder in the past year received some sort of professional help. And let's bring it even closer to home for this community. Some of y'all know that alcoholic beverage sales rose by 55% in the last month during a time when most of us were on a stay-at-home order, feeling what was wrong in here with something out there. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced many people out of work and into isolation. And again, so many of you know this, you get the same calls and texts and messages that I get. Relapses during this time are happening at a really scary pace. And the National Public Health Group, called the Wellbeing Trust, they just sounded the alarm this week, actually on Friday, on what they're calling deaths of despair. They are warning that 75,000 Americans could die of drug or alcohol misuse and suicide because of pandemic stresses, and they're calling these deaths of despair. You know, these are just some of the reasons why we're having this conversation now on mental health and wellness. And the truth is, we have some stigmas to break through when it comes to this conversation, don't we? And we don't do this work alone. We do it together in community, and Free has always been about that and will always be about that, because your health and your wholeness and your well-being has everything to do with my health and my wholeness and my well-being, because we are profoundly interconnected. We are bound together through our suffering and through our healing. See, we know that 1 in 5 people will be impacted by personal experiences of mental health challenges in any given year. We know how common mental health challenges are, and culturally, we've been too silent about this kind of suffering. And the historic shame and stigma associated with mental illness creates all kinds of barriers to getting treatment and help, because people keep silent for fear of being judged or rejected. And y'all, it's not just culturally, but it happens in the church too. That mental illness has been interpreted as the result of sin, as some form of punishment from God. And you can see how this is added to the shame and to the silence. And those suffering can do so alone and isolated, because they've been pushed out by really harmful theologies and a spiritual framework that's absolutely deadly. And guys, it can't be overstated. God is love. Any system that uses God to marginalize entire groups of people is a system that must be rejected. And Free is going to continue to reject these systems. And so I hope the conversation that we have over the next 4 weeks helps us break down barriers of shame and silence around these issues of mental health. And speaking of breaking down barriers, I want to look at a story with you all from the 2nd chapter of Mark's Gospel. And see, Jesus has been traveling from town to town, and he's spreading God's love and healing. And in this story, Jesus comes back to his hometown. And this story, there's a massive crowd of people, and among this massive crowd of people, there was Jesus, a man who of the day would have been described as unwell, and then there were 4 friends of this man, who cared for this man. And then, of course, there were some religious leaders. So I want to look at just the first part of this story. It comes from Mark chapter 2. We'll just look at the first 7 verses. And we'll throw this on the screen for you. It goes like this. When Jesus returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in the front door, in front of the door. And he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And let's pause there for just a moment. Now, in that time and in that day, this paralyzed man would have been a complete outcast, a total nobody, pushed to the margins of society, absolutely useless. He couldn't work the fields. He needed care to do the most basic things in life. And it was the common thinking of the day, a narrative that was actually perpetuated by the religious leaders, that this man would have been in this condition because of some sort of sin of his past. That God has, in a very real sense, turned God's back on this man. When this man's 4 friends carry him to the place of healing and lower him down through the roof, what does Jesus say to him? "You loser, you reject, you sinner, you bastard child." No. He says, "Son." Do you all see how big that is? In that moment, that massive crowd would have gone silent. You could probably hear a pin drop in the crowd. They would probably be whispering to each other, "Did Rabbi Jesus just call this man, this sinner, son?" In that moment, every social barrier would have been broken. Jesus says to this unwell man, who is likely ostracized for years, "You belong. You are God's son." What does Jesus say to him? "Your sins are forgiven." And when you see that word sin there, think of all the things that keep one from living into their true self. All the things that keep you from connecting to the most meaningful. All the things that keep you from experiencing God most fully. And when you see the word forgiveness, remember in the Greek, it can be translated as this word, we've talked about it, aphiemi, which means to release or to let go. In other words, Jesus says to this man, "You are free and you totally belong." And I don't think he just whispers it in his ear. I think he shouts it at the top of his lungs for everyone in the crowd to hear, so that everyone in the crowd could get the same message. Restore this man back into the community because he's God's son and always has been and always will be. He is as worthy as you are. Now, how do you think the religious leaders responded? 2 lines. The next 2 verses, we'll throw it on the screen for you. Now, some of the scribes, the religious leaders of the day, were sitting there questioning in their hearts, "Why does this fellow speak this way? It is blasphemy." You see, they were threatened. They were the gatekeepers. They were the ones who supposedly controlled who God loved and who God didn't love. They didn't get it, and Jesus was relentless against that kind of thinking. You see, if you're one among the 1 in 5 who is in any way battling in your mental health, and you've wondered along the way if you did something wrong, if you're somehow fundamentally flawed, if God is against you, I hope you hear God shouting tonight. I hope you hear God shouting in your dreams, "You are my son. You are my daughter, and you always have been and always will be, no matter what, you belong." And if you're among the 4 out of 5, the ones who may be doing okay at this point, well, we have the job of the 4 friends in the story, don't we? We get to carry, because it takes a village, doesn't it? We go to them. We love them. We become active participants in their healing. We get creative and raise the roof when we need to. We do whatever it takes to get them to the place where they can maybe experience the fullness of God's love for them. And we go the extra mile to ensure a place of belonging in this community. So I want to close with asking you all a question. And we're going to get started yet. We'll give you 60 seconds to engage. And you don't have to write these in the comments. You can just reflect on these. You can get out your phone and put them in your phone if you want, or get a pen and paper. But you are the village. And you likely know the 1 in 5. Who do you need to check on this week? Who do you need to pray for this week? And if you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, Pastor, I am one of the 1 in 5. Well, write your name down. Put it in your phone. Put it on that paper with that pen or pencil. And if you're one of the 1 in 5, I would encourage you to send us an email this week at bethewagon@gmail.com. Send us an email. We would love to get you connected with our prayer team. We would love to check in on you because it takes a village. So take 60 seconds and engage the question, you are the village, and you likely know the 1 in 5. Who do you need to check on? Who do you need to pray for? Who do you need to connect with this week? All right, y'all, welcome back. I know it's only 60 seconds, and I encourage you to carry that question throughout the week. Who do you need to check on? Who do you need to pray for? Who do you need to connect with? Who are the 1 in 5 who are struggling? And if you're one of them, send us an email. Like I said, we would love to get you connected with our prayer team. They'll call you. They'll write you a message. They'll check in with you and see how you're doing. They will stand. We will stand as a community, stand with you. So I can't wait for y'all to meet our guest expert who is going to dive us deeper into this theme of mental health and wellness. And tonight we just want to set the big picture stuff, that it takes a village. We do this together as a community. Reverend Dr. Sallie Suby-Long. Before I say the big credentials about her, first you need to know she's a good friend of our family. I'm honored to call Sallie our friend. I think you're going to love her. And here's what you need to know. She's the founder and director of the Center for Spiritual Engagement. She's the lead minister for spiritual life at St. Luke's, where she has offered care and counseling and spiritual direction for the past 11 years. We worked together for 7.5 years, and I learned a ton from her. Sallie also serves as dissertation faculty with the interdisciplinary doctoral program in leadership at Creighton University, and she's doing great work there. And so we're going to welcome Sallie to come join me at the table, and we're going to dive into this stuff. Are y'all ready? All right, Sallie, come join me at the table. All right, welcome back. Sallie, I'm really glad you're here with us this evening.
Thanks, Ryan.
And as I told you, I'm serious about that. We're honored to call you friend. I learned so much from you, just working with you in pastoral care and what it means to care for people and love people. And she is filled with all kinds of wisdom. And so I'm glad you're going to share that wisdom with us tonight.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm really glad to be here. And I was just commenting on how good it feels to be with this whole group here and just to see everything that's happening. I feel like the whole focus on mental health and well-being is so crucial, and especially now, more than ever.
Now more than ever
Yeah.
during this COVID pandemic. So we want to just jump right into things. And, you know, if you follow us on Facebook, I posted these questions, or if you got our email this morning that went out, those questions were posed, and we're going to follow those questions.
Right.
And so I want people to understand from your perspective and from a professional expert perspective, how do we know when we're not well? And how do we know when we're well? And how do we know when we're not well? What are some of the
Right.
warning signs that can pop up that we need to be aware of?
Great question. You know, first off, I think I would say that I think during this time, we probably, if we're being honest with ourselves, we're all having good days and maybe not so good days. And
Yeah.
I think that it's really important that we acknowledge that. And so when we think about what are the things that really are the things that help us to feel well, I think of a continuum. So a continuum of when we're doing really well, we probably feel energized, we're really engaged in life, we feel on purpose, we are enjoying the work that we do, we feel like we can do the things that come our way, even if they're challenging,
Yeah.
that we can still cope with them, and we have the energy and the resilience to do
Yeah.
that, right?
And I think that's really important to note that just not when we're not well, it's not like a bad day. It's when we lose purpose, or when we lose
Right,
sight of, when we can't do the normal everyday things and find joy in
right.
those maybe.
Exactly. So we feel like we're thriving when we're on the positive side of that continuum.
Yeah.
And I think when we're on the other side, you just mentioned a lot of those things when you were talking about your experience. And
Yeah.
I think that's really true and important for us to acknowledge that when we're on the side of not being well, we can feel like there's not a lot of energy. It can feel kind of dark, like you mentioned. It can
Yeah.
feel painful. I think it can be hard to get up in the morning sometimes, or we might turn to the things that cause us to numb, whether that be substances or food or just checking out a little bit. And so when that happens, I think it's really crucial that we pay attention. And obviously in life, there's a whole range of emotions. I think if we're honest with ourselves, there are days when we feel really terrific and there's great experiences in life, and there's also really hard things. And so I always feel like the acknowledgement of those things is the most important. You and I have talked about this a
Yes, we
lot,
have.
and I have always appreciated those conversations. In fact, I think it was a couple years ago when you introduced me to some work that talked about the importance of acknowledging and welcoming our feelings and knowing that they're trying to teach us something.
Yeah.
So if we pay attention to it,
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
much more likely to be able to respond and to ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me, rather than what I think we often do is try to push it away and pretend like everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you all should know, for many years, we shared, our offices were just feet from each other. So I could often walk into Sally's office and say, here's what's going on. I need you to help me think through this. I need to vent to you. I need to get honest with my feelings. And I think the book you were referring to, if I'm right, is
Yes.
Emotional Agility.
Emotional Agility, Susan David
Susan David
is the
if
author.
you all have not read that book, go to Amazon. Don't go right now. Wait till afterwards. Go to Amazon.
Thank
or
you for
your
that.
local bookstore. Yeah, stay, listen to Sally. But buy the book, Emotional Agility. It is a great read by Susan David. You will not regret it.
Yeah, excellent.
So, Sally, tell us some of the things that, how do we admit when we're not doing well? And not only how do we admit it, but
yeah,
what makes it so hard? I'm just thinking
hard.
my own experience. There was a time in my life where
Absolutely.
I did not want people to know this.
Absolutely.
How do we admit it, and what makes it so hard to admit?
Yeah. The whole idea of why it's so hard to admit, I think part of it is a cultural kind of thing where we have this culture that expects us to be able to figure things out and always be okay and to be able to go forward and deal with our own kinds of things. And you had mentioned this before too. I think often there is still a stigma about mental health and emotional health, that we should be able to handle it. I think the other thing is that mental health and our internal feelings are often invisible to other people. And so it makes it difficult to point it out.
Yeah.
And it can feel awkward to say, by the way, even though I look like I'm fine, I feel terrible internally.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage, I think, to take that step forward and be really honest.
Which I think is what makes it harder when everyone can look at us from the outside, and then we carry this
Right.
persona of, no, we're
That's
holding it
all
all together,
good.
we're good.
Yeah,
Then it makes it harder to admit because I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to let people down. I don't want
right.
people to know what's really going on because then they may not like me as much or they won't
Right.
think highly of me. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me because I always think about when we're dealing with physical illness of any type,
Yeah.
we usually respond to that and we do something about it.
Yeah.
We will either go and check in with a care professional, a health professional, or we'll take a couple of days to rest until we feel better, or we will tell somebody. And I think the same thing is really necessary with our mental and emotional health.
Oh,
It's
such a good
all
point.
so much a part of the same. And I think that is where the whole idea of community comes in,
Yeah.
that we really need people to be able to reach out to and to have the courage and the confidence to say, I'm not doing so great and I
Yeah.
could use some help. And I think 9 times out of 10, we find that people are so compassionate in
Yeah.
responding, and that often it allows the opening for other people to be able to say, here's how I feel, here's what I'm dealing with. And so I think it's really crucial for us to be
Yeah.
paying attention to those things.
And sometimes it's such a breath of fresh air when someone says to you, I'm not doing so well.
Oh, isn't it?
Because it gives us the
the
permission to
permission.
say, I'm not either.
Right.
And that's happened a lot during this coronavirus stay-at-home order. Um, I've noticed a lot more people are more freely saying that to one another. I'm not doing well,
Yes.
or this is really hard for me.
Yeah.
And then the other person saying, yeah, it's hard on me too.
Right. Right. We're really
Permission.
fortunate to have the opportunity and
That's
to
right.
have people that are part of our community asking those questions.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than just saying, hey, Ryan, how are you doing today? It's, how are you? There's a difference in that that I think
Yes.
is really important for all of us to be attentive to with
Be
each
aware of.
other, especially
Absolutely.
now. Yeah.
What are some other things that can help us stay well,
Mhm.
especially during this time of COVID-19? What are some things that help us stay well?
So I think there's a lot of things, and you've referenced some of these already, and actually a lot of these things are research-based, and it may not seem that way because they feel like simple things, but they're actually things that do make a difference. Not only do they make a difference if we are not doing well, they help us, but they also help us to stay well. And
Yeah.
I think we want to do both of those things. We want to help each other if we're not well. We want to be able to stay well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a few of them, and we're just going to put these up on the screen so that you can see them too. And I picked some of my favorite ones. The first one, let me see if I can get to this. The first one is connecting. And I think that the important thing with connecting, we've had that conversation already. But when I say connect with people, I'm thinking about having a conversation regularly, proactively, with a counselor, a therapist, a good friend, a mentor can make all the difference so that we're always in these conversations really comfortably with each other. And I call it having my go-to people. And I've got some really good ones, and I bet you do too.
Yeah.
And it's important to have those individuals. So for me, it's my husband, Tom, who is eternally patient, my daughters, my good friend, Joanna, that I can call anytime. And then I also have a mentor that I see about every 6 or 7 weeks. And they're all people that hold me accountable, they're non-judgmental, and they're always very supportive. And so proactively, I think, is why that's so
it's not
important.
just connecting with these people when things aren't going well. It's
all
staying
the
connected.
time, all the time. So we can be
Preventative
tracking
maintenance.
with each other
Yeah.
about how are we doing, and people that might notice when we're not doing so well.
Yeah.
So connecting is huge in a lot of ways. Practicing gratitude, I know you all have talked about that one, but just the simple things of each day, thinking of 2 or 3 things that we're grateful for. You know, whether that is being able to take a walk, or having the food that we need, or having a goofy pet that keeps us entertained. Sometimes it can be really small things, and it makes a difference for us. Serving others, I know that we're in a time that some of the bigger events that we're used to doing seem like they're not part of what we're able to do now, but we can serve others in small ways.
Yeah.
Like when we're at the grocery store, we could call a neighbor and say, I'm at the grocery store, what things do you need?
Yep.
And drop them off. Or we could surprise a neighbor and drop off something at their front door just because we think that they would like it.
Yeah.
Or we can call somebody just to say hello and ask that real question, how are you?
Yeah.
So
I love
it's still
that.
serving each other.
Different than how are you doing? How are you?
How are you? And the way we say it, I think, really makes a difference too.
Absolutely.
And it's funny, I think even though we imagine that serving others is about other people, it's really about us too.
Yeah.
Just like you were saying
Absolutely.
before, that I think is
It's
really,
connected.
really amazing. And the others that I think are helpful for us, one of them, let me just circle back to this. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Going outside, which I think sounds funny because everybody's been walking a lot, but there is something really healing about nature.
Totally.
And I think especially during this season when everything feels new and beautiful and it feels hopeful. And I think we really need hope. So I think that's important.
And something, I mean, I tell Tammy all the time, when I can get out and go on a run during this time, and see the mountains, and it's been nice lately, it makes when I get back, I'm changed. I'm like a different. It makes a big difference in my life.
It kind of shifts. It just shifts your attitude.
It clears
your mind. It just feels like the right thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Kindness and compassion. I think we all know that, but I think again, keeping in mind what a huge difference that makes when we can be compassionate with ourselves and with others. And I think about, I've mentioned this to you before, Ryan, but I love O'Donoghue's work, and one of the things he talks about, especially now, is to be exceedingly kind with ourselves. And the word exceedingly makes all the difference to me. It kind of makes you pause to say exceedingly kind. And I think when we do that with ourselves, then there's more of us to share with others in really positive ways.
Is that in a book or an article that you read?
You know, I knew you shouldn't have asked me that because I can't remember which book. I think it might be in his book that's called Blessings, but I'm not positive. So I can send it.
What's his first name?
It's John O'Donoghue.
John O'Donoghue.
Yeah, wonderful author. So we can send that out to people too. And then the last one is respecting the value of presence. And this one is a little bit different for me, at least. I think we live in a culture that encourages us to always be accomplishing things, doing things, checking things off our to-do list. And we're in a time that I think is challenging us to think differently about that. And so maybe it's more now, instead of saying, what can I do? It might be about, who do I choose to be? Who do I choose to be with my family, with my friends, and to invest in that in a different way.
Y'all, if you're taking notes, you should write that line down. That's tweetable.
That's tweetable. Hey, to have Ryan Canaday say that's tweetable, that's a big deal. I'll take that.
But seriously, how important? Rather than asking, what can I do? Who can I be? I love that.
Who can we be?
And I know you, Sallie is also filled with resources. So we have a couple of resources I think we can throw on the screen for you that we can mention. Do you want to mention those, Sallie?
Yeah, definitely. Colorado Crisis Services, we just wanted to make sure that people had access to that, and you can, anytime you can make that call 24/7. It's for people who are in need of somebody to talk to. It's all professional people. It can be family members too that might be worried about a loved one. So highly recommend that. And then Mental Health First Aid is another great resource for all of us so we can help each other. And we'll send these out too, right?
Yes, what we'll do is tomorrow we actually have some more resources as well that Sallie sent me. We're going to put these in the email tomorrow that goes out tomorrow morning. If you're not on our email and you want to be, let us know. Put it in the comments. Put your email in. We'll get you on, or send us a message. But we'll send these out in an email. And we'll also put them on our social media pages, on this page, this Facebook page, or Instagram page, and we'll get those out because I think they're really important resources in there. So we'll get those out to you all tomorrow.
Good. Thank you.
So let's close with this, Sallie.
Yes.
Tell us what all of this, we are a spiritual community, free spiritual community.
Yes.
What does all of this have to do with spirituality, the spiritual journey?
So my one-word response is everything. It has everything to do with it. But I really do believe that it's strongly connected because we are people that seek meaning. We're people that want and need to belong. And so our connection with spirituality and our wellness are all part of who we are. It all connects. So it's our connection with God, it's our connection with each other, our connection with our higher power, and all of those things matter deeply to our well-being. And I think often about, so how do we really connect with our spirituality on a daily basis? How do we make that very real so that it feels like it's integrated into our days? And I love the practice of thinking each day about what is sacred in our lives. And sometimes that word sacred sounds ominous in a way.
It's big.
But and it is big, but it's also very much everyday kinds of things. So if we notice, what are the things that feel sacred to us? Like if we're outside and we all of a sudden feel connected to everything that's around us because of the beauty that we see. Or the other day I had a call from my sister, and she was talking about things that really mattered to her, and it was a fabulous conversation, and I felt completely connected to her, and it was a really sacred moment. Or those evenings, I'm sure this happens for you and Tammy, is when you watch your children sleeping, especially after a really long day, and you just feel overwhelmed. Yes, it is. Gratitude and thankfulness. It's an amazing thing, especially with everybody homeschooling right now.
Yeah, it's so funny you mention that, because
hard to do.
Even 2 nights ago, I went in and I snapped a picture of Brick sleeping, because you're right. There's something so like sacred and holy about that moment of just the calmness and the sleeping. And
something
I've
really
never thought about
great
that.
about that.
Yeah.
And the other one I always think about is when we're doing something that we love. And I honestly, when I looked at this one, I thought about you and Tammy, and I thought about you with your passion for speaking and connecting with people. And I thought about Tammy and her ability to really be passionate about people and coffee, and then combine the two to make that all come to life and make a difference for people. And those are the things when we kind of lose ourselves that I think are so important. So a phrase that I came across that to me kind of sums this up in a way, and I'm going to take a look at this because I want to say it the right way. You might enjoy it too, but what if sacred is simply life when we're paying attention?
Oh my goodness.
What if sacred is simply life when we're paying attention?
That's another one.
So it's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Somewhere along the way in religion, I think it happened where we started compartmentalizing. We have our religious lives, then we have our work lives, then we have our family lives.
Right.
And what you're saying is, no. It's all connected. Yeah, it's all sacred.
The same. It's all sacred.
Like sharing lunch with someone on a lunch break at work, that can be a sacred moment.
It can be really sacred.
Calling your friend Joanne and having that accountability and friendship, that can be a sacred moment. Seeing a baby sleep is a sacred moment.
Right.
When we're aware. I love that.
Yeah. It's kind of neat to think that even if you look at, I love words, and so when I look at the words health and holy and healing, they all come from the same root word that basically means to restore wholeness of mind and spirit.
Oh, wow.
And I just think, to me, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. It feels like we need to do another. We could do this. We could go on and on and on.
Yes. And so we have gone on and on before, haven't we?
If y'all want to join us in some of our conversations,
it would be good. That would be really good.
So here's how we want to close this time. We want to give y'all 60 more seconds because it's to reflect on the sacred. And I love how you said it. Sacred is the simple when we're aware.
Right.
So reflect on those sacred moments that you've had this week. And I would encourage you to put these in the comments. Let the community in on what are some of the sacred you experience, because chances are I experience those same sacred moments or someone else in the community does, because we're all in this thing together, and it's about becoming aware of those sacred moments. So take 60 seconds. Thank you so much again, Sallie, for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. My pleasure.
So good to have you
Great
here.
to be with all of you.
Yeah. 60 seconds, reflect on sacred moments you've experienced this week and engage with the community. All right, guys. Hey, I'm seeing some comments come in. We'll be engaging with you all throughout the evening and really throughout the week. So keep the comments coming. Put them in your journal too. Put them in wherever you keep notes. Put them in your phone. Where have you experienced the sacred this week? And here's how we end things in this community. We end with heartaches because we believe around here that we carry the burdens together. We get to carry the burdens together. So again, we're going to take, just like we did with celebrations, take 2 minutes and mention your burdens that you're carrying. And again, we get it, guys. This is a vulnerable act. It's you being vulnerable in community. But we pray for each other here. We lift each other up throughout the week. We encourage each other throughout the week. I see you all do it all the time. This community is so good at that. And again, we have a prayer team. Jason leads our prayer team. He gets us all organized and we connect throughout the week. But in order to know how to pray for you, in order to know how to connect with you and encourage you, well, you've got to do that vulnerable act and share your burden, your heartache. Because again, this really profound thing happens when you share it. It has a way of lessening. It has a way of becoming lighter. So I just want to encourage you all to take 2 minutes and put them in the comments. Let the community in. Engage with this community. Be community together. Be the wagon together. Take 2 minutes, and then we'll come back.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad to join you for celebrations and also for this time of heartache. So we're going to share some with you all in this community.
You want to throw some on the screen? There we go.
From Danny on the back end over there. Dealing with some resentments I would love to release.
Prayers for you, Danny. Prayers for those resentments.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Danny.
And Brian says, my second adopted mom just tested positive for COVID. So sorry to hear that, Brian. We know so many are dealing with those who are positive for COVID and struggling in this together. So prayers for you, Brian.
Yeah. From Mustang Sally, please pray for all our heroes on the front lines. It's time to howl in 2 minutes. Take a little break and go howl. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, let's lift them up together. Jamie Delgado says, pray for the addict and children still suffering. I miss home. Yeah. And we miss you, Jamie.
Yes, we
do.
Every
week you lift them up, and thank you for doing that. So important. Prayers for them.
Cindy, prayers for Deb, who lost her husband this week. Not sure who Deb is, but we will be praying for her.
Absolutely. Do we have any others? Stephen, daughter started a new job. Holding our breath. Will be a while before we can exhale. Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Stephen. Prayers for you. Remember to breathe.
Leslie, prayers for my friend Bianca and her 4 children who are in very challenging, frightening, and trying time. May they make their move to Kansas and find safety and happiness.
Prayers for Bianca. Any more? Yo, we know there's more in there. You can keep bringing the comments, because we track with you all through the week, and we pray with you, and we lift you up, and we try to connect with each and every one of you throughout the week. So keep them coming. So grateful you participate in this time with us and share your burdens with this community, and we lift those up to God, and we believe that God always hears our prayers. Thank you for joining me, Tammy.
You're welcome.
That's always good to have her here, isn't it? Okay, guys, we're coming to our closing time, but you know, it wouldn't be an appropriate close here at Free if I didn't share with you the story of the wagon. Have y'all ever heard the story of the wagon? Let me share with you the story of the wagon, because see, here at Free, the wagon that you see in the corner of your screen, it is a central image in this community. I even have one tattooed on my neck. You see, when I was in LA a couple we ago, we were at the largest rescue mission in the country, which is the LA Rescue Mission at Los Angeles. And we were taking this tour with the executive director, and he brought us up to the 3rd floor, and that's where they have pictures of their memorabilia. And right in the middle, one of the largest pictures was this picture of a wagon. And I said, what is the deal with, what's the story behind the wagon? There must be a story here. He says, oh my goodness, you don't know the story of the wagon? I said, no, please tell me. He said, that's how we got started, late 1800s. The wagon would leave this place and go downtown to some of the roughest places in LA. And the wagon, people on the wagon would hand out food and clothing and Bibles and hope. And then at the end of the night, they would invite people to get on the wagon and head back to a place of recovery, safety and recovery and connection. And y'all, what happens when you get a bunch of drunk people on a wagon? Yeah, they fall off. They fall off, but the wagon, and this is the most beautiful part, the wagon wouldn't just keep going, it would stop, and the ones on the wagon who were sober would jump off and help the drunk ones back up and put them on, because they knew where they were headed. They were headed to a place of safety and recovery and connection, and that is who we want to be here at Free. We don't do shame in this community. We don't kick the wounded. If you fall off the wagon of life, it doesn't just mean sobriety. It might be a lot of different areas. We want to be here to help you get back on. It's why we're the wagon. We want to keep being the wagon. On the wagon, on this central image in our community, we have a donation box. And we actually have donation boxes scattered throughout the premises here on Free. And truly, it is your generous giving that helps us to keep going in this community. And before I get to giving, I want to tell you all this. We had a family, a very generous family with a very generous donation that said, here, take this and help people who've been affected by COVID-19. So I want to say to you all for just a moment, if you are struggling financially because you might have experienced job loss, hardships, please do send me a message, ryan@freespiritualcommunity.com. We have some funds set aside to help people in our community who are struggling. And we, totally, y'all, I mean this, we would be honored to help you. So keep that in mind. Giving in this community, there's 2 simple ways to help sustain this ministry here. You can text the number that's coming up on the screen. Safe and secure way, text this number. You just text, this is a new one, y'all, Be the Wagon. We changed systems a bit. Text the number on the screen, Be the Wagon. Safe, simple, easy. It'll text you back, and then you can put a number in, however much. No donation is too small. Or you can go to our website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and click on the donate button, and you can put your donation in there. No donation is too small. What you give, your generous giving, and we saw a ton of it this week, and we were just totally blown away. Totally blown away by your generous giving. It helps keep us going here. It helps push forward the mission, and there's such exciting things coming up in this community. I can't wait to tell you all about them, and that details will be coming out soon. But that's what we have for you tonight. Please feel free to give generously as you all do in this community, and we're grateful. I want to close with prayer. We always close with prayer here, and I invite you to get centered for just a moment. Take a big deep breath, inhale and exhale, and let's together go out with the Lord's Prayer. It's on the screen if you don't know it. It goes like this. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the glory forever. Amen. We cut it off on the bottom. Sorry, guys. And I was following what was on the screen. Hey, so good to be with you all tonight. Grace and peace to you in the journey. Reach out to people and connect this week, because when it comes to our mental health, we're all in this together. When it comes to the wellness within us, it takes a village. All right, we'll see you all next time. Grace and peace.